you'll know that we just made an agreement when we both have each other's shoe on. It's just one of each,
We are Saints in the South, your source for gospel growth and good times. All right, everyone, welcome. Episode 124. And as you can obviously see, we are on a Zoom conference versus in the old podcast room.
That's right.
Decided to switch it up here like this for a little bit and see how this goes for everybody.
That's right. This is way more
convenient.
It's more convenient. It's way more fuel efficient.
Yep.
It's fuel efficient.
Yeah, with $5 gas for sure. I mean, we do live in the same area, but we're not next door neighbors.
Right. So. Yeah. It's going to cost me at least $15 to get to your house.
That's right. Yeah. And that's one way, right? And it's $15 back home.
That's one. Yeah, that's right.
Uphill both ways.
That's right.
Through the snow.
So we are in Ruth and 1 Samuel 1-3. Right. So we got some pretty cool stories to talk about today. And Ruth's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
With her story, and it just I still kind of continue to be blown away by the traditions and the laws and the rules of everything back in Moses' time in the Mosaic law.
Right.
With her situation that she found herself in. So, but I guess just to give a little background, so Naomi and her family, 2 sons, they were experiencing a famine. And then so she moved. They moved the family over to the Moabites. That's where she went, right?
Yep.
Moabites.
Moab. Yep, that's right. And but because of famine, and they met Ruth. Ruth was a nice young lady, hardworking lady, and everything. And she ended up marrying one of Naomi's sons. What was his name? I remember. If you don't know it, it's okay.
Don't be asking me to search.
Wasn't ready for a quiz this morning. Trying to remember everybody's names.
I mean, there's only 17 names you got to remember.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, but anyway, they end up getting married, and then I'm not sure on the timeline, but it seems like fairly quickly. Her husband, Naomi's son, ended up passing away. And with the traditions there, if she didn't have any, I guess, family or sons or anything, and she's now a widow, she's basically left to
figure it out.
Yeah, there you go. She's left to figure
She's
it out.
She's actually quite resourceful. That's one of the things that strikes me about this is how during this time, women were, to some extent kind of disenfranchised in certain situations. But I love how the scriptures describe how these women weren't just these weren't just some what's what I'm looking for, just like a throw pillow or something,
right.
Man, these women were smart, resourceful, strong. It's like, it's crazy to me. Like, how many of these women, we read about in the Old Testament, really kind of were able to benefit themselves and their families. And really, a lot of the blessings that we see for generations were a direct result of these righteous women, like really intelligent, strong, righteous women like Ruth.
Yeah, these people, these women that we're talking about, they're not just going to lay down and die. They're going to be like, hey, this is.
They had no choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible situation, but we're not going to give up. We're going to keep moving forward. I mean, it was a pretty dire situation. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, she lost her husband, lost her sons, just it was like, wow, it's just, and the famine itself, I mean, everybody's probably dying. There's probably all kind of people dying, but So it wasn't just something they were going to just take and be like, well, the Lord hates us and we're just going to lay down and die, too, because they're all gone. We're going to, no, they like pushed forward and started trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
And so with Ruth's situation, Naomi and her family, they decided to move back, to go back to their original land there. And Ruth has a decision to make. She can either stay or follow them. And she decides to follow Naomi. Said that she loved Naomi. Yeah. And then that's when they come across the situation with her. She's gathering food, leftover wheat, crops, and things like that in the field, and then catches the eye of Boaz.
Right.
And Boaz ends up being generous and kind and tells his servants to leave, kind of leave extra behind and so forth. And then, long story short, they end up Boaz and Ruth ended up marrying.
Yeah.
And so Boaz kind of acts as a quote unquote lowercase s savior to Ruth. So
yeah, and Naomi, really,
and Naomi, the family. That's right.
Yeah, just there was a little bit of here's what I like about the book of Ruth. There's no wars. I mean, we're not reading about some kind of uprising. We're not reading about. It's just a basic, and I don't mean to call it basic because, like we're saying, there's a lot of major things going on in these people's lives, but it's so relatable because this is stuff, not so much the famine thing and stuff, but just people die in our lives and you have to change and you have to grow and adapt. And this is what's just basically going on in the book of Ruth. It's basically they're growing, they're adapting, they're trying something new. They're trying to figure out how to make things work. And the Lord's with them the whole way as they turn to the Lord. And I mean, just little things like when Orpah, Orpah was Ruth's, was the wife of the other son. So they're the two sister-in-laws, Ruth and Orpah. They, one left, which is not a bad thing. One left, kissed her mother-in-law goodbye and went on her way. And I don't know what became of her or what happened. I'm not sure, but you can't look at her and go, oh, she made the wrong choice. And Ruth was the mighty one that stayed behind and helped take care of Naomi. It's just however the circumstances worked out. And Ruth felt a sense of, duty, I guess, in a way, to take care of her. And so she took on that challenge and the whole story ensues after that. But a lot of great miracles just happened, especially with her marrying Boaz. The law, if I can interpret it correctly, was something to the effect of if your husband died and it was the next kinsman, the closest kinsman was supposed to take over all your property and take over that woman to help raise seed and continue. That was just the way the law was at the time. And so they do go, once Boaz figures out, says, yeah, I don't mind doing this, but if you're going to do this and you want to subject yourself to the law, then we have to go to the nearest kinsman. And he knew there was one close by. So they actually go visit him. And long story short, basically that kinsman said, yeah, I'll take over her land and take over everything or whatever I need to take over, her property, and take care of it. But then Boaz reminds him, like, if you do that, you also need to take her as a wife and continue to have children, etc. And then he was like, oh
yeah, I don't know.
He's like, I can't. Yeah. He's like, well, I can't do that because I've already got my own. Right. I've got everything else. I mean, I've already got my stuff going. And he's like, okay, well, hey, I concede to you take it. And that's pretty much what happened, Boaz. And as a token, he takes his shoe off, this kinsman that was close to Ruth, in the family or whatever. But he takes off that shoe and gives it to Boaz as a token of covenant, saying, witnessing to everybody that, hey, I'm allowing this to happen. This is okay. This is legal and binding. It's a covenant. So it's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We should bring that back.
Yeah.
And next time I make an agreement with Marcus, I'm going to take my shoe off and give it to him. He's going to be like, what are you doing?
You'll know that we just made
covenant,
an agreement. You'll know that we just made an agreement when we both have each other's shoe on. It's just one of each, But that's what I like about Ruth is it's pretty straightforward, simple. I hate using the word simple, but you know what I mean. In contrast to Moses parting the Red Sea, and here comes the
it's more everyday living for us.
Yeah,
there you go.
With the exception of passing widows around his property.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little weird, but like we said, this is a foreign.
One thing that's cool to me though is that it seems like there's some symbolism here with you, like Jackson, you mentioned Boaz as a like a savior, lowercase s, and
right.
So he did make provisions for Ruth, made sure that there was extra, like when the harvesters were picking up and they were bringing in the sheaves and all that, if they dropped some, rather than picking up what they dropped, he told them just leave it there and all those kind of things. But the greatest blessings for her weren't received until she reached out to him. She basically proposed to him, which is interesting. And it's kind of funny how, with the way the traditions were, the wording is kind of weird. First time you read, she went up to him and uncovered his feet and did this, and what's going on? But basically, she went to him and was like, will you take me under your wing? Will you be my protector? Which was what he would have understood as, marry me and, take me in and all that kind of stuff. And so he did. And he had already been, making provisions for her to, to have the wheat and this, and that, and the other. But then she reached out to him, and he, at that point, that's when, she received the greatest blessings. And it's kind of, it makes me think of with us too, it's like, I feel like we're even when we might not be, when we're lost and out in the world, the Lord loves us, and he's always trying to help us out, and the only blessings we might have is some scraps that are left over. But, when we go to the Savior and submit ourselves to him and, have him, we become the bridegroom, so to speak, that's where the greatest blessings are. That's when, he'd take us under his wing and we receive those greatest blessings. So that to me was kind of a cool little parallel, the way that, she did, he was looking out for her, but, and it wasn't until she took action and she reached out to him, was like, I need you. I want you to take me and, make me yours. And then that's when the greatest blessings were received. And so it was kind of a,
I really like that. I really like that, Kenny. As far as everything, it all ends up coming down to us and our actions,
yes.
And what steps we take. So I really like that parallel. Nice.
Yeah. If we're willing to look, the Lord will help us find,
Yeah.
He'll help us find a way. We just got to put a little effort in sometimes to show that we truly want that thing, and he's quick to bless us every time,
right.
The Lord is every time.
Very good. Y'all got anything else on Ruth?
Well, just that through her line, is where David is born through that line. And of course, ultimately Jesus Christ is born through her line. It's very, so there is a connection to swing right into Samuel, Samuel's mother, Hannah.
Yep.
Samuel, just to quickly connect, you got David that's born through Ruth eventually, through Ruth's line, King David, and Samuel was the prophet that anointed King David to become king, also King Saul before David. So Samuel was this prophet that actually, he was like the prophet of the kings, basically. I don't know if that makes sense. It don't sound right, but it actually even says the first book of Samuel, otherwise called the first book of the Kings, because we'll learn here in a minute why it's called that. But anyway, that's just the little connection there. It goes right in line.
Right.
This life continues on, and there's
So why is it
they transitioned from the time of the judges to the time
of the kings?
Yeah, because the people wanted, the Israelites. I mean, okay. I'll preface it with this. There's a great article in the Liahona this month, June of 2022, and it's Jeffrey R. Holland. It's like the first message in there, where Jeffrey R. Holland, basically, I can't remember the name of the title of it, but something along the lines of just talking about how we should follow prophets and how important prophets are and things like that. But it talks a little bit about Samuel, the book of Samuel, and how the Israelites, for whatever reason, man, it's like they went so long. As a matter of fact, it even says in chapter 3 of Samuel, verse 1, it says, and the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. In other words, it was scarce. The Lord's visions were scarce. There wasn't any prophets in the land really until basically Samuel, and so all the way from basically Joshua to Samuel, in essence, is obviously there were good inspired people throughout the book of Judges and things, but as far as like an actual just straight up prophet as we know a prophet,
basically open revelation.
There you go.
God,
yeah. Basically see God face to face. Yeah. Stuff like that. So and so he was just saying that Jeffrey R. Holland was saying that basically the Israelites, they went so long, all of a sudden they were being led so well, even by Samuel, everything was doing pretty good, with these wonderful teachings by Samuel and stuff. But then all of a sudden, just almost out of the blue, they're like, we want a king like all the other nations. We want a king to lead us. And of course, the Lord told Samuel, like, you needed to warn them about a king. You can have evil kings and things. Well, it didn't matter. They were like, we don't care. We want a king. All the other nations have kings. We want kings to lead us and to lead us into battle and to fight for us and things. And Jeffrey R. Holland said the most profound thing. He said, the irony was that they had a king. They had Jehovah as their king. They had Jesus Christ, Jehovah is the king. And they wouldn't hearken to him. And it's like, and it just hit me. I was like, that's so true. They want a man to like be a cool guy. Yeah, I don't know. It's
always
crazy.
it's always so much easier to see, right?
Yeah.
And feel, and
right.
Touch and everything. It's
like these Israelites, man. It's like you take the Israelites and you tell me the Lord isn't merciful. He has to be merciful. Oh, yeah. These Israelites wouldn't exist today. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, and when I say that, I mean, it goes all the way through us too. There, the Lord would just say, I'm tired of this. These people are crazy. They will not, do anything I ask them to do. And so the Lord is absolutely patient and merciful and gives us multiple opportunities.
Fortunately for us, the Lord is far more patient than Moses.
Yes, exactly.
He never throws up his hands like, kill me now. I'm so tired of dealing with these people.
But I mean, let's dive into Samuel, man. I mean,
well, hold on. I did one little bit of trivia. I think it's cool, but I don't. But so the wives that, and I still don't know as far as the sons of Elimelech. There's Mahlon and Chilon, and I'm not sure which one was which, but they married Ruth and Orpah, and so I know a lot of people know this, but some people might not. Oprah Winfrey was actually named after Orpah, so that's a little bit interesting bit of trivia.
I didn't know that.
I did know that because I remember her saying it, and I think she said something to the effect that her mom or whoever it was that gave her the name or put it on the birth certificate misspelled it. They put the R in there. It's supposed to be Orpah, and they put Oprah, OPR instead of ORP. Yeah, and they misspelled it, and so it was Oprah. But that now that's trivial, but look it up on Google to make sure. But that's from what when you said that, it triggered that memory. I remember
actually named after Orpah in the Bible.
That's cool.
Useless trivia. I mean, there you go.
Yeah. Totally cool. Totally useless trivia. Exactly.
But that's what we have, man. That's what we love to dish. All right, let's dive into this book of Samuel.
So I continue to also to be blown away by these strong and end up being really profound women that have trouble bearing children.
I'm telling you
that must be a little bit of a sign or significance for any women out there that have had issues bearing children. Take comfort in the fact that there's been some great women out there that has had the same issues and same troubles.
And it goes to show how important bearing children is for women. It's a major thing for them in their lives. I mean, that's a major responsibility the Lord's given them.
Right.
And, and I mean, and I think it's on, especially these women, and back in those days, it was so important to have a son and to have, for all like we talked about before, Ruth and Naomi, and it's just there was a lot of pressure, I think.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. lot of pressure and over something that they really have no control over.
No control over.
As far as you know, they're having the ability to. So, but yeah. So Hannah was had issues there, and struggled a lot with
it.
it.
Bitterness of soul.
That's right. Yeah.
And prayed unto the Lord and wept sore in verse 10.
Yep.
So yeah, it was hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminded me, we way back, I interviewed Emily and Barry Bennett, and talking about Emily's challenges there and everything. So if anybody ever, if you haven't checked out that interview, go check it out. They talk about their struggles in childbearing and everything, and talking about adoption. But anyway, I guess they really didn't have the option to adopt back then.
I mean, Eli did,
and yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
He adopted Samuel. Apparently, no, but yeah. I mean, I guess I'm sure there was orphan kids and stuff back then. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how all that worked, but
yeah,
I can tell you this: Hannah was a woman that if she was supposed to adopt, she would have adopted as many as she could. I mean, you could just tell she was such a devoted. I mean, my goodness, how devoted can you be? And then, I mean, just to start it off, what's her name? What's her the other wife's name? The one that keeps picking on her,
right? Yeah,
you're good with these names.
With a P.
Yeah, it's Panera Bread.
Panera Bread.
Panera Bread. That's it.
Let's call her Panera Bread.
This other wife is always picking on her basically, and she's having kids. This other wife, this Panina or whatever her name is, and I was thinking, wow, how harsh is that? How mean is that? But anyway, Hannah wanted to have children. She prayed. She finally vowed a vow in verse 11, which is make a covenant basically with the Lord, and pretty much says, hey, if you'll let me have a child, I will dedicate him 100% to you, Lord. I mean, not just like make sure he does his prayers every day, but like actually send him to the temple, to the tabernacle, and I'm going to let him work full time for you. That's a big deal. I mean, that's a heavy vow, man. That's really wanting something. And of course the Lord obliges, and it happens. I love how when she's making this vow, she's in the tabernacle and Eli catches her like Caesar, and says, she's over there just kind of moving her mouth and like, whatever, making this vow. And so he thinks she's some drunk. Or something. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy. It's like, hey, get out of here, but don't be drunk in here. It's like in the tabernacle or whatever. But she, answers him very forthrightly and says, I'm not a drunk. This is what I'm doing. It made me think, as far as a life lesson for us, sometimes we can be mislabeled or misunderstood even by good people. Eli is the high priest. I mean, he's not a bad dude. This is like the state president coming to you, maybe accusing you of something, or maybe thinking you did something. I mean, how do we react?
Right.
Do we take offense and just say, well, this ain't the true church? This guy's supposed to be inspired by God. And I mean, here's Eli making a mistake, honestly. But she's not like cross with him, and she could easily ran out of there. Maybe that was another test of this whole covenant she's making, like the Lord wants to see, like, well, how dedicated to me are you going to listen to my servants even when they make mistakes,
right?
And not dire mistakes. Obviously we've talked about that before, but
that is a good lesson, man. She could have easily taken offense at that, I mean, basically, the high priest comes in, accuses her of just being drunk, being crazy, acting, so,
right.
Yeah, she handled it extremely well. So that's a really good example for us too, that, even, those who are called of God are human and do make mistakes.
Right.
And we can choose whether to be offended or whether to, carry on, like she was just like, no, I promise you, this is not what's happening. She didn't get mad. She's like,
that's
right.
Right.
I'm praying. I'm going through a hard time right now.
Yeah, she responded with truth and testimony.
That's right.
I really like the of course the story where Samuel in the evening time, they're sleeping and Samuel hears the voice of the Lord.
Yes.
Ends up hearing it three times, goes to Eli each time, and on the third time, Eli says, "Okay, look, it's not me, but it's the Lord that's speaking to you." So if he calls it again, say, Lord, I hear thee. And so that's exactly what happened. And so there's a couple things that I brought or kind of take from that, is that one is that obviously, learning to hear the voice of the Lord or follow or hear the promptings of the Spirit, it takes time, right? Takes work and effort and figuring that out. The other thing is the role that Eli played, and it made me think of not only us as parents with our children and teaching them, but also youth, because this Eli's not his father, right? He's a leader, so they're in the temple, and it just made me think of youth leaders, and I guess really right now the bishop and bishopric and the role that they are called to play in the youth's lives and young women and so forth, and the just the critical nature that youth leaders can have with the youth in helping them learn to follow the promptings of the Spirit and reading the scriptures and so forth. And so it just reminds me that we can play a critical role, not just to our children, but to other youth as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love the "Here am I, Lord," here thy servant hear thee. What is it you want me to do? And that's a question we should ask ourselves. Are we willing to answer that way when the Lord calls upon us? And obviously maybe not in this miraculous type way where we actually hear a voice, but the Lord does call upon us through other leaders and through our own revelation and things like that. But are we willing to do a Samuel and just basically sit up and basically go, "Here I am, what do you need?"
Yeah. It is a process. I really like what Jackson said about how you have to learn. I mean, it really do. I'm still working on that.
Absolutely, that's right.
It's a hard process learning how to especially people who Samuel's a kid and he's kind of doubting what's going on, and I think it's normal. I'm a person who I tend to second guess myself a lot.
Right.
I often wonder, is this thing that this thought that I have, is this a prompting or is this just my own feelings, and it's kind of hard to discern sometimes. It really does take work, and it's something you have to work at. It's a skill to be developed, to be able to, be receptive to that still small voice
and to keep.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, just to end it out, as far as my last thought here that I have is just in basically in chapter 2, verse, one of my favorite verses here, because it kind of gives you the but the chapter 2 verse 21, it says, "And the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters, and the child Samuel grew before the Lord." So the Lord didn't forget Hannah. The Lord didn't just say, "Okay, you gave me your son, see you later." No, nothing for you now. That's it. And it's, which she would have probably been like ecstatic, like it happened, but Hannah was not forgotten by the Lord. She always honored the Lord through her trials, difficulties, and she kept her covenants throughout. And that's the type of woman Hannah was. Talking about these strong women, we cannot outgive the Lord. We just can't. And so, this is something we need to remember. As we stay focused on the Lord, like as Ruth did, and Naomi and Hannah and Samuel. Stay focused on the Lord, and everything should work out. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it will work out eventually, whether in this life or the next. We don't know, but we're not, we all know this life isn't the final chapter of our biographies. So that's what we got to remember, the bigger picture. Right.
Yep. And then 1 Samuel chapter 3:19, "And Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and did let none of his words fall to the ground." So they had the prophet. He raised up a prophet was raised up. And I like the little footnote right there, "fall to the ground." It references 2 Kings 10:10. "Know now that there shall fall to the earth nothing of the word of the Lord, which the Lord spake concerning the house of Ahab, for the Lord hath done that which he spake by his servant Elijah." So basically the words falling to the ground it's not going to be for nothing. These are going to be, every one of his words are going to carry weight, because he is going to be the mouthpiece for the Lord.
That's right.
All right. Well, there you go. Episode 124 in the books, coming to you by via Zoom. That's right. Hey, until next time, y'all keep on striving.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to follow us on social media, you can do that through Instagram and Facebook at Saints in the South. A great place to join in the discussion would be our podcast group page on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter, Saints in the South, at 5 Southern Saints. And then, of course, on YouTube, hit the like button, notification bell. And if you're not already, be sure and subscribe. And then finally, you can check us out through our website, saintsinthesouth.com, where you can have access to all the podcast and YouTube videos. And then we would love for you to take the opportunity and leave us a review and rating. Thanks again for all of your support, and we will see you next time.